Welcome to the ALTA California Railway, a prototype freelance railroad set in 1968 connecting Mexico with California. It's great to be back working on the layout again. While I was gone visiting my parents for a couple of weeks, Alexander and Jay surprised me by cleaning off and organizing the layout. I was so thankful, as it made jumping right back into layout construction seamless. One of my favorite model railroaders came by to visit the ALTA and run his 1930 Southern Pacific equipment on the layout. You must check out his Vasona Branch layout blog, where he's building 1930 San Jose as it was before the war. He brought some of his incredible 3D printed cars he designed himself, and some upgraded brass locomotives and passenger cars. Thanks for visiting, and I hope to have you back soon. Next, work began in earnest to progress with the causeway and drawbridge scene. This meant having to do things in a particular order. If we were going to mechanize the switches, we had to do this first before we installed the concrete viaduct. Originally, we planned to install a motorized switch machine pair. Also, 3 inches of foam was too deep for any machine to move switches properly. We'd already installed Blue Point manual switch machines on the brewery spur, and we knew they'd work. Briefly, we considered not putting any machines on the crossover at all, but we wanted to install a set of signals. Also, we knew we'd have to put the machines elsewhere on the layout in the future, especially against the wall behind the transfer table where access would be an issue. Since these ones are in a more accessible place, we might as well practice here. The first step was building a plywood bay to mount the machines to. Mounting them directly to foam was out of the question. We removed the springs out of the Pico switches, which was a bit hair-raising. We then had to replace all the track and put it back in before the switch machines went in. Alexander fought valiantly one afternoon, swearing like a sailor to get that project done, and it came out really nice. The crossover now has switch machines in place, which will be wired up to an ABS signal system. On the other side of the estuary, I was finalizing the position of the lift bridge. It is a touch taller than the surrounding scenery, so I had to make a bridge approach using Woodland Scenic's foam grade profiles. It took quite a bit of fiddling to perfect the approach angle and ensure nothing would derail. Meanwhile, Alexander was also using styrene strip and sheet to scratch build the station platforms as mentioned in the previous episode, and now they're receiving paint as of the publishing of this video. He also scratch-built a loading dock for the trucks based off of a Western Pacific design in San Leandro, mixed with some features of an SP ramp. It came out exactly how I wanted it, and it looks beautiful. This is also made from sheet styrene and then painted up to look like concrete. One project we've been working on for years has been designing the paint scheme for the ALTA's premier passenger train La Monarca, or the Monarch Butterfly in English. The train basically follows the route of the butterflies from Oakland down to Guadalajara. From its beginning as an all-Pullman sleeper luxury train in 1927 to 1955, it was painted in dark olive. The railroad hired Raymond Loewy and Associates in the early 1950s to redesign the train from the ground up. This meant new power, E8s, and new lightweight cars done up in a period-correct, beautiful paint job inspired by the butterflies. So we set out to capture Loewy's style and design a period-correct paint job inspired by his work on Northern Pacific's North Coast Limited. Years of fiddling with sketches, Adobe Illustrator files, and other things came to life this August when I painted up a spare E7 shell I bought from that $9 grab bag of trains from the Richmond Club earlier this year. We had access to the original drawings of the North Coast Limited and used that to precisely measure stripe height from the railhead to perfect the look. Then I used calipers to translate that onto the shell to get the position of the colors just right. This one was just quickly hand-painted. The real models will be airbrushed, but this mock-up gives a beautiful preview of what is to come. A final touch is the anti-glare patch on the nose, inspired by a Milwaukee Road F unit. I also did up spare passenger car that Jay donated to the cause for us to test out the scheme on the cars. It looks remarkably sharp. Back to the layout, we mixed up a ton of Sculptamold and grout together to make some earth-colored paste to dial in another quarter of the layout. We splorped the Sculptable mix onto the foam and then let it dry. Yes, I just coined the term splorp. Next, I laid track connecting the interchange with the lift bridge. I used some flex track and an 18-inch radius gauge. Even though it's an interurban line, I don't want it to be too sharp. That way I can run freight cars up to the cement plant. After that, I used leftover trestle kit bits from the Anchor Bay project to make an approach trestle. I prefer using this kit over lumber because it can be plastic welded to the ties for extra strength. I let the glue dry and then soldered up the track. Now it was time to test out the line with the newly completed ALTA NW2 and a string of cement hoppers. It ran beautifully. Further detail needed to be added to the wooden trestle and abutments. I added to the lift bridge's abutment with some extra blue foam and slaked it with the MIG Products asphalt putty. After it dried, I painted it the concrete color and weathered it to reflect an algae-soaked canal. I also added additional strip styrene to the bridge to more believably model the bracing on the underside of the wood trestle. I spray painted in Rust-Oleum dark brown camo, which looks very convincing as aged creosote lumber. It got hot glued in place and then was encased in foam board to make a consistent water level. I'm mulling over a variety of water modeling techniques. Marklin of Sweden's approach using mushed toilet paper looks great, probably, as does Boyle Hobby Times varnish tinfoil, or I might do ALTA's gloss medium technique with airbrushed waves. The bay in Guaymas is relatively calm, so I don't think we'll have any breakers or anything dramatic. I also need to build an accurate, decrepit, disused wooden fender set for the now impassable bridge. Now the Waterfront Shrimp Restaurant has some water in front of it. I still need to build the tropical-themed back deck over the water for the tourists and the locals to lounge on. If you're a native Spanish speaker, throw some potential names in the comments, perhaps something relevant to Guaymas or Empalme with Camarones in the title. I want to make a custom sign to mount it on the roof in a period-correct hand-painted style. Maybe with a gigantic fiberglass shrimp or marlin above the roof, luring in those hungry motorists. Drop your best idea in the comments below. If you're new here from my recent model review, welcome aboard. This is my own model railroad I've been building for the last couple of years. Go back to episode 1 and watch it forward. It'll be an entertaining journey from beginning to end. Thanks as always to my patrons. Every dollar of your support gives me time to spend editing these videos for you to enjoy. Right now we've got an ALTA California Railway mug and a tote bag available for patrons. Check them out in the links below. Look for more beautiful scenery in next month's upcoming layout update, along with the winner of the restaurant naming contest. This has been Interurban Era. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.